My name is Joni Liverant and I'm a licensed Israeli tour guide. For over 150 years, archaeologists have been searching for the ruins in the ancient city of Modi'in, associated with the Maccabees of the Hanukkah story, as well as the whereabouts of their graves. Today there is a relatively new but fast-growing city of Modi'in. It is believed that the modern city is in the general area of the ancient one. We know the approximate location of the ancient city from a number of sources. The Mishnah Pesachim states that Modi'in is a day's walk to Yerushalayim. There had been a question asking how far could someone be from Yerushalayim while on a pilgrimage, but still make it in time before the holiday of Pesach. The answer given was that someone who was in Modi'in or closer would make it on time, thereby telling us that Modi'in is a one-day walk away from Yerushalayim. This made Modi'in an important stop on the pilgrimage route. Another time Modi'in was mentioned in rabbinic sources was in the Tosefta in Chagiga. Modi'in is considered the border for the reliability of purity of pottery. If pottery is found in Modi'in or closer, it is considered to be pure. From outside of Modi'in and further, its purity is not reliable. This shows that the distance from Yerushalayim was not too far. Another time the Gemara states more specifically that Modi'in is 15 Roman miles away. A non-Jewish source for its location is a Maccabee map. This is a mosaic map located in Maccabee, Jordan from the 6th century. Right below the large depiction of Yerushalayim are the words in Greek, Modi'in, Maccabim. This shows that the city of Modi'in was still known in the Byzantine times. As the new city of Modi'in is being built, many new archaeological surveys and digs are underway, many in search of the exact location of the ancient city. But have we found it? We're standing outside the ruins of an area known as el Umdan, the Arabic word for pillars. These ruins are right near the modern Modi'in and are from the city in the right location and time period of the ancient Modi'in, giving rise to speculation that this is the ancient city. You can see the layout of the relatively small area that has been excavated. There are finds that date back from the Chalcolithic period, the 5th to the 3rd millenniums BCE, until the early Arab period in the 7th century BCE, showing civilization extending through many time periods. But most of what we are seeing are from the Hashmonaim Herodian periods of the 2nd century to the 1st century BCE. A series of what had been dwellings were excavated, including a central road. Only the bedrock of the dwellings remain. There is an ancient wine press which attests to the occupation of the inhabitants that was viticulture. As we walk down the main road, we come to the most impressive find of the area, what had been a Second Temple period shul. 3 levels of buildings have been excavated here. The remains of what we see today are from the 3rd level building that had been built during the Herodian period of the late 1st century BCE. The bottom layer had been a Hellenistic hall from the 3rd century BCE. Above that was a small, simple shul from the time of the Hashmonaim area. Coins had been discovered from the Antiochus III and the IV. He was the king of the Hanukkah story. 5 other coins from the Hashmonaim, John Hyrcanus and Alexander Yernai, were also excavated. On top of that shul was a larger and more elaborate one. The entrance had been through a courtyard on the eastern side and another one on the entrance from the northern side. Remains of stone benches have been built all along the sides of a rectangular structure. One part of the bench is wider, leading to speculation that this had been like the Kisei Moshe found in the ancient shul of Chorazin, a special seat that had been reserved for the head of the community. In the center area are 2 rows of 4 rectangular stones. These were the bases for the pillars which held up the roof. There is the remain of an additional square which has led to speculation as to what could have been located here. Some suggest that perhaps it had been a stone, like that of the Rosetta Stone, discovered in the shul of the same time period at Magdala. Maybe it was like a bima whose function was to lay the Torah upon it when it is read. Frescoes or paintings that are done on wet plaster were found on one of the stones, attesting to the elaborate decor of the shul. Also uncovered is the entrance to an underground cavern. Findings of vessels from the time period of Bar Kokhba revolt in the 1st century were uncovered there. Perhaps this had been used by the rebels to escape the Romans. Right outside is an ancient mikvah. The building had been built above it. Nearby 2 stone stamps were found. One had the word in Hebrew chometz or vinegar on it, and the other one depicted grape leaves, again attesting to the main production of the community. These being discovered near a mikvah attests to the importance of ritual purity to the winemakers. In an area nearby, 7 burial graves were discovered. 7 is an important number as far as the graves are concerned because we know that there have been 7 graves of the Maccabim. One was for Matityahu, one for his wife, and then for the 5 sons. The entrance had a round stone which would have closed off the area. There is a courtyard with benches which visitors would have used before entering the graves. An ossuary was uncovered. Ossuaries were small chests used for the second interment of human bones. These were used for burials during the time of the Second Temple period. So are these the graves of the Maccabim? We have descriptions of the graves from 2 sources. One is from the book of Maccabim 1, and one is from Josephus. They had been huge, elaborate monuments that had been built with great height, with tall pyramids erected about them decorated columns. These were so high that they could be seen from the sea. Many stones were located which some think could have perhaps been from the pyramids, but no actual pyramids were found. But if you look at the topography here, the location is relatively low, being only 300 meters in elevation. The odds of even very high pyramids being seen from here to the sea is very low. However, the discovery of this area was a very significant find. There have only been 6 other shuls excavated from the time of the Second Temple period. The Beit HaMikdash was standing, and Jewish life revolved around it. So why would there ever have been a shul? It is assumed that these shuls did not serve the same purpose as today. There wasn't a standardized prayer system then. It is assumed that it might have been a gathering site, perhaps to read and to learn the Torah. The 6 remains of shuls had the same format of benches around an open central area. These remains are said to be the second oldest. As there have been so few excavated, even if this isn't the ancient city of Modi'in, it is still an important discovery. Another proposed site in the quest of the graves of the Maccabim could be near an area known as Khubrat el-Hargardi. This is about a 15-minute drive from el-Umdan. It could be found near the big brown sign saying Maccabim graves. So obviously this is the place because the sign says so. About 5 years ago, there was great excitement and fanfare by the archaeologists working in this area saying they truly have found the graves. So it must be. This is not the first time archaeologists have claimed about this. Already 150 years ago, a French explorer came here inquiring about this area and found that it was right near the Arab town of El Medea. Arab towns often retain the original names. El Medea, Modi'in. It was thought that they are one and the same. Not long afterwards, a Greek scholar came here and spoke with an Arab shepherd. He showed him the tombs known as Kubr el-Yahud, meaning Jewish graves. The scholar put 2 and 2 together, El Medea and Jewish graves, obviously the Maccabim. Much later, Jewish students from the Herzliya Gymnasium met with the same shepherd and had the same conversation. They drew the same conclusion. Then in 1945, the Zionist movement instituted a marathon from here to Tel Aviv. The runners carried torches, which they used to light the large Olympic-sized torch starting athletic games. This is ironic, since this was part of the Hellenistic culture that the Maccabim were fighting against. The truth about these graves is that they are pagan tombs known from the Roman and Byzantine periods. This is known by comparing these tombs to others known to be from that time period. Right nearby, we come in front of a Muslim maqam, which has graffiti on it saying that this is the burial site of Matityahu HaKohen. We know for sure that this is not so. It is believed that this is the tomb of Sheikh Gilbawi. He was considered a holy Muslim, and this is a Muslim tomb. Just north of this site is an area discovered about 140 years ago by a Frenchman who found 7 graves. Again, 7 graves equals graves of the Maccabim, so he thought. When another Frenchman came about 10 years later and did more extensive digging, he discovered a substantial building with a mosaic floor. Not only was there nothing associating this building with the Maccabim, but in one corner he found a cross. So the conclusion is that this was a Byzantine church or monastery from the 5th century. In 2015, once again this area came into focus. Archaeologist Amit Re'em re-excavated here and found that this was part of a larger 6,000 square meter site. He too drew the conclusion that this was the site of the Maccabim's grave, even though the building is obviously Byzantine. The Christians revered the Maccabim. The Christians had fought paganism just as the Maccabim had. The Maccabim had died as martyrs just as the early Christians did. Therefore, the Christians were preserving the memory of the Maccabim from 500 years earlier. and centuries later the Muslims built the Maqam, showing that the three monotheistic religions revered the site. Although there are a great number of trees here disturbing the view to the sea, in the times of the Maccabee they wouldn't have been here. Because this area is higher in elevation, it is possible that a tall monument could have been viewed from the sea, from here. So, is this the area? Another possible maybe. The irony is that when Simon, the brother of Yehuda, built the tombs for his family, he built it in such a way that it could not be missed. But today it seems we keep missing it. When the day comes that we find the graves, we will also most certainly find the ancient Modi'in. Until then, the quest continues.